Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, I rise in support of this legislation, and I want to talk specifically about the anti-Semitism working group for our schools in this state. It's not easy being Jewish in Connecticut. It's not easy being Jewish in the United States. You know, some of you may know I grew up in West Hartford, right here in Connecticut. A lot of Jewish people there, progressive community, and my life was pretty good. I had good parents. I was sent to good schools. Things were going just fine. I arrived at Hall High School in West Hartford with a good group of guy friends. We played sports together. We laughed together. We got into, I think, probably relatively innocent trouble together, as high school boys do. We played sports. We laughed. We did what high school guys do. But one day, things started to change a little bit. There started to be some joking around about how one of us was a little bit different than the others. And it started with very innocent joking, and over time, innocent joking became anti-Semitic slurs, the K word, and many others. And soon, it became something more nefarious. It became bullying. It became threats of violence. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I was just in high school. I didn't understand what was happening to my little world, my little insular world. My parents had done a great job to protect me from all the ills of this complicated world. And my perfect little childhood and my perfect little world in West Hartford all of a sudden was upended. And I didn't know what to do. I withdrew slowly from that group of friends. I didn't quickly find others. And I went off to college as far away as I could get from West Hartford in North Carolina. And I never then had the courage to talk to the school or to report the anti-Semitic bullying that I experienced or to deal with it in the right way. I just got out of there when I graduated. And I tried to pretend like it never happened. I blocked it out. And I studied hard. And I thought, maybe if I study hard and do well, merit will prevail. Maybe people will respect me for who I am and what I bring to the table, and not what religion I am. I even, to a degree, ran away from my own religion and who I was. That's what I needed to do at that time. It's hard being Jewish in America. It's hard being Jewish in this state. I didn't have the courage then to speak out. But I came back to Connecticut, and I ran for the state legislature, and I was told they'll never elect a Jewish guy to the state legislature in Manchester. It's never happened. Not going to happen. In order to win this seat, you have to be a member of St. Bridget's Church. I was even told you should enroll in St. Bridget's Church. I remember saying, I don't think they're going to buy a guy with the last name Luxenberg pretending to be Catholic at St. Bridget's Church to win an election. I don't think that's going to work out. I think I'm going to just have to run and be me. People are going to have to decide whether they can support me as a candidate and look past or look beyond or look over whatever my religious heritage is or religious values are. And they did, and I got here, and I've had the great fortune of working with many of you on a lot of important policies for many years. But I had blocked out what had happened to me in my childhood. It was traumatic. But as is often the case with trauma, something happened that brought it back into the forefront for me and my family. About 4 years ago, my happy-go-lucky daughter, who's an amazing kid, was 7 years old. 7. Came home from school, a public elementary school in Connecticut, at age 7, and reported to her mother and me what had happened to her that day. She had experienced a horrific experience of being bullied in an anti-Semitic way at age 7 in this state, in a public elementary school. Her mother and I decided to speak up on behalf of this 7-year-old that we love at the time. And we contacted the school, and over time, the issue was resolved. But the school's first reaction was to remove my daughter from the classroom. That was the first reaction. We're so sorry this happened, Dad. Let's take her out of the class. We said, wait a second. What message are we going to send to a 7-year-old who has just been victimized by an anti-Semitic bully? That you, 7-year-old child, should be removed from a class? Not the bully's going to be removed. You, the victim of the anti-Semitic bullying, is going to be removed. So we went round and round. The issue was resolved. And I'm grateful for the many, many thoughtful people in the school system who cared about my daughter and me. And she had more bravery at 7 to argue with this bully than I did when I was in high school. And she's doing great. But even the 7-year-old knows today at age 11, it's hard to be Jewish in America. It's hard to be Jewish in Connecticut. It's even hard to be Jewish in a wealthy community, in a progressive community, in a community where people like to believe this kind of anti-Semitism doesn't happen. It does. I don't know if the thoughtfully crafted working group that the leaders of the Education Committee have created and put into this legislation can solve the horrific challenge of exponentially growing anti-Semitic incidents in the United States, in our schools, and for elementary school kids and high school kids. But I think this legislature owes it to our state to put together a group of thoughtful people, some of whom represent my community, which has been resilient for hundreds, if not thousands of years, in having to experience things like this and many things far, far worse than what I've described, I think it's worth trying. Because maybe the working group will make recommendations that school systems can use that maybe will help somebody like my daughter or somebody like me many years ago. And so I thank the thoughtful leaders of the Education Committee and the people in this chamber for supporting this specific part of this bill. We can't solve a problem if we're not even willing to have a working group that includes experts. Maybe you don't agree with every person that gets appointed to the working group. Maybe you don't agree with every organization they may be connected to. But we can't solve this problem without having a working group, getting into the schools, and trying to make a difference. So I urge my colleagues to support this bill and the many, many other important things attached to it, including civics education, a variety of other important measures, because it's a starting place. And it's better than being silent. It's better than doing nothing. It's hard to be Jewish in Connecticut and in America, but it doesn't have to be this hard. Not for elementary school kids, not for high school kids, not for anyone. Thank you, Madam Speaker.